Alexander C. Bennett has 2 PhDs in Human Studies and Sciences from the University of Canterbury and Kyoto University. He holds the ranks of 7th Dan Kyoshi in Kendo, 5th Dan in Iaido and Naginata, 3rd Dan in Jukendo and Tankendo. He is professor at Kansai University of both Kendo and Japanese culture and history, vice president of the International Naginata Federation, member of the International Committee of the All Japan Kendo Federation, director at the Japanese Academy of Budo, co-founder of the Kendo World Magazine, and author of several books in English and Japanese. This series starts with Alex's first visit to Japan, his first encounter with Kendo, and what put him on the tracks that led him to where he is now, 30 years later. Season 1, Episode 1. First Steps in Japan and First Contact with Kendo.
Well, before I came to Japan, I have no idea what I was doing because it was so long ago. I first came to Japan when I was 17 as a high school student. But I was originally from New Zealand. I'm a New Zealand citizen, and basically my first experience with the martial arts was after I came to Japan and joined the high school Kendo club. But before that, I'd never really had anything to do with Budo, but I'd always been really into sports like soccer, cricket, and volleyball. I was always keeping myself very active in sports right the way through my childhood. But I came to Japan in 1987 for the first time because I wanted to learn Japanese language. And the mid to late 80s, of course, was a very interesting time in Japan. It was right in the middle of the bubble economy. So I thought to myself, wow, if I can learn Japanese, then I can have a piece of the Japanese pie. So that's why I came over here, and I just sort of, it was supposed to be for 1 year exchange, but then I got sort of forced into joining the Kendo club
at my high school. And really, that was everything before that time now seems so far away. It was like a life-changing experience, and it's kept me in Japan ever since. So almost, well, it's 30 years now that I've lived in Japan. When I was here in 1987 for the first time as an exchange student, I went to a school in Chiba, which is not far from Tokyo. And my intention actually was to join the school soccer club. But, you know, if you live in Japan, you know this very well. Japanese schools do not have a lot of grass. Okay, so that the sports grounds are all sort of like deserts, really, aren't they? It's like stones and dust. And I saw the soccer club practicing on this sand pit, and I thought, that's not the soccer that I grew up doing. And I thought, what should I do? I want to do something. I want to join a school club because that's the best way to make friends and so on. And then my host mother, I had a Japanese host family for the time that I was here, and my host mother suggested that, well, you're in Japan, why don't you do something Japanese for a year? And I thought, that's a good idea. I didn't think of that. And my school, Inage High School, had 2 Budo clubs. There's a judo club and a kendo club. If there was a karate club, probably I would have gravitated towards the karate club because, well, in those days, Karate Kid with Ralph Macchio and all that, it was quite popular. It was pretty cool. But there was no karate club because karate, until very recently, is very much a minor Budo in Japan, actually, isn't it? So there was kendo or judo, and I went and saw the judo, and there weren't many people in the judo club, and the teacher looked a little bit weird. I thought, that's probably not for me. So then I went next door and saw kendo, and it's the first time I've ever seen it, and it was just crazy. It was like, what the hell is going on here? It was like, you know, watching something out of Star Wars. You've got the sensei of the club, Sano sensei. He was over in he's much bigger than everybody, of course. And he's just destroying everybody like a superior Jedi, and all these underlings were just going crazy, like, you know, kamikaze pilots, attack, and getting destroyed in the process. And I thought, it was really bizarre. It was like, I'd never seen anything like it. It terrified me, actually, because I didn't know what was going on. It just looked really violent. So it sort of terrified me, you know, in one sense, but it also totally fascinated me as well. It's like, wow, what the, can I do this? And I didn't know it at the time, but the mere fact that I went into the dojo and was watching, the sensei, Sano sensei, just assumed that I was there to join the club. I was there to look and check it out, but, you know, it's like Hotel California. You know, once you check in, there ain't no checking out. And so it's like, I had to do kendo from that day. And to be honest, I really hated it. At first it was, you know, it was different, but then, you know, it's like really unnatural posture, you know, right hand forward, right foot forward, holding the sword in front of your body and just doing lots and lots and lots of suburi every day, trying to reprogram your body to these really unnatural movements, or what seemed like unnatural movements. And I got blisters all over my hands and all over my feet, and sore muscles that I didn't even know I had, and it was just really tedious too. So I wanted to quit after 1 week, because every day is training after school. School finishes at, I can't remember, it was about 3:30, and then they call bukatsu, which is school clubs, and they start at 4 o'clock and go to about 6 o'clock. But unlike New Zealand's like, we join sports clubs, they're seasonal, so you might play rugby or soccer in the winter, and then in the summertime you play cricket, and you only practice once or twice a week, and then you have a match on Saturday because there's no school, right? But in Japan it's like 7 days a week. On Saturday we have classes at school. Well, I don't know if they do now, but they did in those days. So, but classes would finish at 12 o'clock. So then we would have kendo practice from 1 o'clock to 6 o'clock on Saturday. And then on Sunday, from 9 o'clock to 6 o'clock. So it was 7 days a week. It was horrible. There's no way that you can have a break, or, I don't feel like going to training today, or anything like that. It's like boot camp. You got to go. And so I wanted to quit, because it was, like I said, it was a little bit tedious at first. I didn't really understand what was going on, because kendo is quite difficult to sort of to grasp when you have, you know, you've never done it before. And this teacher was scary, okay, and, you know, I just really had no idea what the hell was going on. So I went up to Sano Sensei after a week, and in my very, very bad Japanese, I said, you know, I want to quit. Yeah, thank you for the experience, but no thanks. And he glared at me. He goes, "Dame da yo," which means, no way am I going to let you quit. And it's like, oh, I thought that was my decision, but no, it was his. So that was it. I was stuck. And I must, you know, confess, I was a reluctant member of the club for probably about a half a year, but there were certain things that kept me there. Gradually I started to understand what we're supposed to be doing in kendo. But also, I became very close friends with my, you know, with my club mates, as it were, because the training was really hard, and sometimes it was really violent and nasty. And you sort of go through this together. We couldn't really converse very easily because my lack of Japanese at the time, and they obviously didn't speak English, and we sort of just make do, but just through the shared experience of going through this hell every day, you, without even knowing it, you form these really strong bonds of friendship. And so it was the friends that I made through the kendo club that sort of kept me there long enough to finally have an epiphany one day that, hey, this is actually pretty profound. This is pretty cool. So I'm glad that Sano Sensei made me stay in the kendo club. But if I had my own way, I probably wouldn't be wouldn't have continued doing kendo at all. And I wouldn't be sitting here all these years later.
In the next episode, Alex will show us how, despite a tough first approach, kendo has become his way of life.
Perhaps he did see something. Budo is just something else. Allegorically killed me many times over. You know, there are times where you do get disillusioned with Budo and all the politics.
Stay tuned for our next episode on Seido's channel.